Well, speaking of Apple, a group of Apple employees is pushing back against a new return to office plan. Apple CEO Tim Cook told Santa Clara County employees they would be returning to work in person 3 days a week starting in September. Now, in response, more than 750 employees have signed a petition demanding flexibility and asking Apple to let them fix their schedules directly with their managers. Now, I thought this was interesting. They don't want it to go higher up than that. They sort of want to have this sort of close-knit, have the managers really take over this. And it is important to remember this is a small group out of the 165,000 employees that Apple has. But, I mean, they want more flexibility. I don't know if they're going to get it. Shauna, what do you think?
I don't know if they're going to get it. I have a hard time really sympathizing with some of these Apple employees. They're going back to the office, or at least management wants them back to the office 3 days a week. I think it makes sense. When you talk about company culture, when you talk about being collaborative with your colleagues, just think about how easy it is for you and I, Dave. We sit so close to each other, for you and I to discuss certain things during the day, right? It's a little bit harder, rather, if we were both working from home like we had been for so long. So I think, it's no surprise here that Apple is seeing a pushback among its employees, but I think the case is going to get a little bit harder and harder here to argue as we see management really have the upper hand.
Boy, we come across as an unsympathetic panel here because I am with you. I am not sympathetic either. 3 days a week is the bare minimum we ought to all be doing, and because of collaboration is so essential. And now I have to wonder, if and when you were told you could have mobile work at Apple, was there some promise or guarantee that we don't know about where they said, hey, enjoy this for permanently? Or was it like most people, hey, we're going to weather the storm and then we're going to come back in? A lot of people say in this letter they left the Bay Area, they left Austin to go where they could actually afford to buy a house. Did you clear that with your manager? Did you run that up the flagpole to the boss, Tim Cook? Presumably no. Presumably Apple didn't want anyone to move from where they built multi-billion-dollar buildings. I don't think there's much. It comes down to leverage, right? If you are an invaluable employee there and you're that confident, plant this flag. If you don't, we are tightening labor conditions ahead. We could enter a recession. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, it's a tough argument here for these employees. And we're seeing it happen not only at Apple. Clearly, they aren't the only one. Tesla, Elon Musk coming out saying that, hey, you need to return to the office. A number of the larger banks here coming out, Goldman being one of those, saying their employees need to come back, especially now after Labor Day. So those employees, if they took it upon themselves to move a further distance away from the office so it makes it less convenient for them to commute in, that's their problem. You have a hard time feeling sorry for them when there are still a number of, in this case, probably Apple employees who live in that Bay Area and are forced to pay either higher rents or forced to pay a little bit more for their homes. Rochelle?
And Dave, I think you raise a good point. It really does depend on what the expectations were. Because I know at the beginning of the pandemic, when things were really kicking off and they just wanted people to keep working, a lot of them said, companies like Airbnb now saying, look, that's just going to be what the company culture is. So it does depend on what your company needs. But some of the reasons people said that they wanted a more flexible schedule included disabilities, health concerns, and the fact that some of them are actually more productive. Now, I don't know if you want to admit that you're more productive when you're not in the office. I don't know if that helps you when you're trying to come back to the office. But we have to keep in mind that there's also a generation coming behind us who are going to want a more flexible schedule. So it may sort of be this tug of war between employees and employers going forward.
Yeah, my argument to those Apple employees who want a more flexible schedule, it's still pretty flexible. It would be really nice if we only had to come in 3 days a week.
Sign us up
We're
for
here
that.
5 days now. Our industry is a little bit different, but still, I think the hybrid work environment is kind of the perfect way here to go about this.